Welcome inside the Chris Evans podcast, along with Phil Nichols, City Councilman Don Channel. We welcome you in the Chris Evans podcast, a part of Second Banana Media, and glad to have you, Don. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, last Tuesday, Guthrie City Council voted 5-1 to take a vote to the people on April 4th to decide the compensation of City Council. Right now, you guys getting a big whopping $1 a year deal. And then now, after the vote, looking to make a stipend of $600, and that's a part of the Guthrie City Charter. And to change the charter, you have to go to the vote of the people. There's a difference between a charter and an ordinance. These guys change this ordinance or amend them or whatever they want to do to the ordinances. But as far as the charter, it does take a vote of the people. That was Tuesday night. Phil and I came on Wednesday night on the Open Mic podcast and discussed our initial reactions to that. And Don saw some good things and some things that want to clarify, all that good stuff. So we welcome all that. But I guess my first question is, how did this come about? I know in past meetings, I think maybe just one I remember before, but Brian Bothroyd had brought up this type of a package before, just kind of, hey, we need to take a look at it and start thinking about it. But just kind of how it came all about.
Well, I got one order of business here, Phil.
Is this my Xanax?
Well,
I need the whole bottle.
Now, Phil, I said I'd come and do this if Phil got a Xanax.
When I told, and what did I tell you when I called you?
And he said, I want two.
I said, I need at least two.
And then after I got thinking about it, I'm like, well, I might need two too. So there's a bottle. If you have an emergency.
How many is there?
I don't know. There's a handful.
Okay, we'll split it.
Just
I came in strong with a great opening and boom!
just swallow them until it feels good.
Well, what you don't know, I've been drinking whiskey since 11, getting ready for the
Jokes.
We might set a record here. We might.
Well, thank you for that. It's very considerate.
You guys said you wanted 2 water balls. I thought, well, we don't need 2. We're not going to be here that long, but maybe should have got you 4 each.
We're big old boys.
Yeah, might have.
Hydrate.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Anyway, the history of this, the whole...
You didn't dream it up yesterday.
No.
Or Tuesday.
It has been talked about off and on, actually, for a couple of years. And how it came about, it came up when each year we have to renew the contract with the insurance company for all the employees. And so HR comes to us and gives us all the dope on that about, well, who we have here, it's going to be 15% more this year.
That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah, if you've ever bought any insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And
10 to 15.
I'm going to get off on a tangent here.
Yeah.
You pushed the wrong button, Phil.
What's that?
I've been in business for 35 years buying commercial insurance.
Right.
And this year it's going up because it's a soft market.
So, well, no, wait till it's a hard market.
Well, no.
Then they'll have a reason why it went up when it's a hard market.
That's where I was going. But the end result is, guess what? It's going up.
Oh, yeah.
It's either
every year.
It's hard to get. You're lucky we're selling it to you for this price.
Yeah.
But hey,
when it stays flat, that's a win. It never goes down, but if it
how many years
flat.
has it stayed flat, Don, in 35 years?
Never.
I was going to say, it's rare.
Even if everything's the same, it's like they have to get a little more.
Oh, yeah.
They have to.
Yeah,
it has to go up. But,
my favorite term in benefits is, trend.
Yeah.
Trend. Yeah. That's my favorite term.
They can justify it.
Oh, yeah.
Every year. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Stock market, they're making lots of money. They're losing lots of money. It still amounts to, we're going to charge you a little more.
And that's where the insurance companies make their money is they get your premiums and they start investing that stuff, and that's where they make the real money. So.
But anyway, I want to say it was 2 years ago when HR came to the council and were telling us about this, whether, we should switch company or stay with this one, and they were laying out all of the stuff on it. And Bothroyd, which has been his baby from the get-go, he's like, we should see if we can get on insurance.
I remember that.
On the city insurance. He leaned over me and him's talked about it several times before it was ever mentioned public or anything. And, you know, I don't know about you guys, and I don't know what your insurance costs, but mine's about $2,500 a month.
A bunch.
And we're sitting here going, you know, maybe we could get on that, even if we had to pay something to get on it. It might be a good deal, which we, as a council, we don't go through and go, well, their co-payment is this,
Right.
they cover this.
Yeah. Staff handles that.
Yeah, staff does
sure.
all that. We just get the,
Yes or no.
here's what it's going to cost. Should we move it? And usually that's their job. So if they recommend we stay or recommend we change or whatever, so far since I've been around, it's been, you know, you do what you think's best.
Right.
That's what we pay you to do. Right. But that's where it first came up, and I wasn't against the idea. Now that it's turned into a stipend thing, you know, when watching you guys talk the other day, and Phil's going, $600, $600. I think, and maybe I'm all wrong here, but I think if we had put out the proposition on the ballot that said, you know, normally council gets compensated $1. We'd like to change that. We would like them to have our medical insurance available to them. I think Phil would go, well, I don't think that, I guess,
Well,
maybe not just Phil, but
but I think that's fair. But I think the first thing I'd tell you is a guy that's been in that business for 30 years. Non-employees typically aren't eligible to be on group health insurance, and so that there's potentially a challenge there. You can do it, but I'm going to let you finish. But I want to share my real why I said what I said, and you and I talked yesterday on the phone, and you know, and I don't mind sharing this. I said it is the dollar amount that bothers me,
right?
And it's not that I don't think people on the council, I don't think all of them, but I think you, I think Brian, I think the mayor, I think Tracy, I think, and everybody works to a degree, but I think you do spend more time in educating yourself, studying the issues, trying to get your facts right. I think you do an excellent job of that. Excellent job.
Thanks.
My whole challenge with the $600 amount is that Councilman Bothroyd, who's one of my reps, and I haven't talked to Brian yet, and I think Brian's done a good job as a city councilman, so I don't have, you know, I got no beef with that. But he made a point to point out Edmond.
Well,
and I'm just going to say this, okay? You're a businessman,
yeah.
right? Do you know what Edmond's annual budget is?
I do not.
$394 million.
Yeah.
You know what Guthrie's budget is?
Tell us.
It's about 15 million bucks. So as a business person, and I know you, those are big separations to have $100 less a month stipend.
They are.
And so I have challenges with that on just looking at it from that perspective.
And for the record, City of Edmond council members were $350
Right.
until July of 21,
Right.
when they doubled to $700 a month.
Right. Well, and anyway, as this issue was born, it wasn't about the money.
Right.
It was about maybe seeing if we could get eligible to be on the city's insurance. And what turned it into
Stipend.
a stipend was this, because the more we talked about it, I said, you know, Brian, it's not going to be fair to everybody. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you know, Tracy works for the county. Tracy has insurance through the county.
And
Jim.
Taylor, Jeff,
Works for the state.
he works for the state.
Yeah.
The mayor was ex-military.
He gets-
I don't know, what his situation is, but
They typically get it forever.
so and I said, you know, if we're saying just insurance, at least half of us, it means nothing too.
Right.
And of course, Brian said, well, too bad if we offer it and they don't take it. too bad. They had their chance. And I'm going, no, that's something that I couldn't support.
Not comfortable with that, right?
I said, if we do something, whatever we do, I think it needs to apply to everybody. You can't single them out, whether you think this guy works harder or that guy, it needs to be across the board.
Right.
And it's a charter vote, so this is for future
Right.
council
Future
members as
council
well.
members.
Yeah.
It's for everybody on down the road.
Right.
And Leroy was in that discussion. This is after the thing has evolved for a couple
while.
of years.
Yeah.
And it was in a meeting, after a meeting the other day, and we got to talking about it. And Leroy said, well, I think you're right as far as making it across the board. That's, I wouldn't want to go, well, you three down here, we love you. Here's your insurance. Mayor, not so much.
Yeah. Right.
You don't want to start that sort of a deal.
Right.
And so I gave him some pushback on whatever we do needs to be across
The board. I think that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Leroy said, well,
Sorry.
get that over. And we're still on the first page of notes too. So
You didn't bring enough damn Xanax.
But anyway, and I can't quote you the exact price. Leroy had it in his head, but it was $7,000
Right. I think
per
you said,
employee.
Yeah, 7,200, 7,500, something like
But
that.
it figured out it was $625
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And he said, if you want to do it, he said, maybe you need to just make it like a stipend or something. And I said, well, I would support that because I don't know everybody's personal business. It's on the council.
Right.
But if you don't have insurance, you could take that $600 and some and help pay your own. If you do have insurance, there's still deductibles and prescriptions.
Sure.
And,
Yeah, out of
and that
pocket.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You could use that to help cover it.
Yeah.
So I'd be good with that. That way it's even across the board. And it never started out to be about money.
Right.
It was about trying to maybe we could get some sort of benefit for a time we put in.
And I want to say this real quick. When you say that for you, I believe that 100%. I truly do.
Well,
I believe that 100%. I can't say that for everybody on that sitting up there with you, but I can say that for you. Right. But I'm just saying for you, there's not one thing you said I disagree with. I agree. I know it wasn't about the money.
So the thought process, like Chris has stated, we can't vote ourselves a raise.
Right.
And
Thank
people,
God. Thank God. And I think you would
It's
agree
the thing with
that.
state legislators.
And you would
that-
agree with that.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
yeah.
otherwise we'd be like Washington.
I mean, it's just insane.
Exactly right.
I'd have 3 houses in 2 different
Right.
states.
Yep.
On a $168,000 a year salary.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Somehow. But it would work. But anyway, it has to go to the people.
Right.
And our pay in the charter says it's $1.
It's literally one sentence in the charter. I looked it up. It was like one sentence.
Yeah.
It's $1. It was
$1.
one of the shortest
Remuneration of $1.
It's one of the shortest sentences in the charter. It's
Right.
amazing.
And believe it or not, I've still got all my dollars because,
You don't go to revivals, do you?
yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
But,
You need to tell me off air how you hold on to those dollars.
well, because they're in glass. When
Oh,
they
okay.
give them to
Okay.
me,
Okay.
they're usually in a frame under glass.
Okay.
And that is my break glass in case of emergency.
You got, what, you got
So-
2 of them now or 3 of them?
No, I've got,
Got
like,
4 of them. Has it been
Yeah.
4 years?
yeah.
Good Lord.
Oh,
I bet
believe
you,
me, every
I
one
say
of
good
them's
Lord,
there.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, every one of them is there. But the dollar deal, there's, you guys said, well, the thought behind it was you serve your town.
Yep.
And, I signed up for $1, and I told everybody that before. It was never about the money with me. But then again, 100 years ago when that charter was written, they're liable to have sat right down here at the saloon and drank a beer and went, well, are we going to allow wagon tracks down Main Street when it's muddy, or are we going to make them detour? That might have been the bulk of the city business, and so the dollar was more of a token payment. And over the years, which I've only been in it as long as I have, but even, in talking with Leroy, he's done it for 40 years or better. And he said, I will agree to that. He said, the government and all the things that we have to do in running the city has got so much more complex, takes so much more time. Yep. And to be effective, you have to do the time, you have to do the research, and that's one thing that I say a lot, and that I tell a lot of people. I said, when we're in trouble is if we all sit up there and Leroy reads the issue and we all go, yep, all right, sounds good to me, hit the yes button. Right. That's when we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. Of course, everybody knows when James and I first got on, that was the main event of the week when it was council meeting, because we got in, we had all these ideas, and we're going to go fast. If I can just get in about 6 months, I can fix most of this stuff, And so that's the way we went at it. Right. But it ain't that way. Right. It's like swimming in peanut butter.
With 100 pounds on your back.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it takes a lot of time. Right. And it takes a lot of research, and you don't want to get on TV and say a lot of dumb stuff. So. Yeah. Yeah. So I try to do my research, but anyway, that's how it all came about. It was never about the money, but the only clean way, another way we talked about on the stipend deal was, some towns are like, well, they pay you so much a meeting. Right. And we kind of kicked that around for a little bit, and we went, yeah, but then it's got to be, somebody has to track that. Did Phil make that
Who's
meeting?
Here, who isn't?
Was he not? Yeah. How much should we dock him for this? Should we this? And it complicates.
Yeah, Chris and I talked about that after the show Wednesday, because we were looking at different ways, and that is the big thing. It creates an administrative,
right? It
just additional administrative task, right, on staff, right?
And so that's the reason we just said, make it a number. Mm-hmm. And, Brian, the other night at the meeting, he did a lot of talking about it. And then when it come down to it, then he's like, so are you making the motion?
he only asked you 7 times. I counted it.
And the way he stared you down was kind of weird.
It was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm like, there's 6 other guys down here you could be looking at. And I guess because we've had the talk here with Leroy a few days before, he was looking for me to do that. Right. And he just kind of looks at me.
Oh, and then his hand kept going, like pointing at you. Yeah. Like pointing at you. Yeah.
And I think that's also a respect thing. I mean,
it is.
You kind of lead a lot of things.
You do.
So comfortable for you to do that. I mean, you're gonna do what you want to do.
Well, and honestly, nobody else really was talking.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there was really not a lot of back and forth on it. I know Jim had a few comments, but it was more agreement to what Brian or you were saying. The mayor brought the research of, for example, the
agenda packet.
Yeah, just the size of the agenda packet, how many documents you guys were looking at, and all valid stuff.
And then what I jumped on too, I love it when it's a clean docket, because I just spend 2 or 3 hours looking through it. Mm-hmm. But when it's not a clean docket and I go, hey, wait, why is this? What is that? And then you grab up the phone or the computer and you start digging and looking, and you spend a lot of hours. What's on those, like I said in the meeting, what's on those papers at the time determines how much farther you have to dig.
There was something brought up tonight that I went back and rewatched from Chris's post on Guthrie News page, where it showed the 15 or 16 minutes when this was the topic being discussed. They asked about expense reimbursements for the mayor for like travel and things like that. Mm-hmm. Is that something the council's eligible for currently? Does the council currently submit those?
I never have.
That's what I don't know. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well,
No, I think if you're driving for the business of the council, I think you absolutely should be reimbursed.
Or classes for the council.
Classes or whatever. I agree with that.
and until they brought that up, I didn't even know it
Yeah,
existed.
yeah.
The mayor goes to
Right,
OMAG,
events,
a lot of these
right,
kind of things. And I don't know if he turns in for them or not. He obviously has more experience with that.
He probably does. I mean, I
know.
would assume he does, but I mean, there's probably stuff he doesn't. But I just didn't know that
His
was
choice.
a thing.
His
His
decision.
choice. I just didn't know that was a thing.
I've got a different type of expense in mind. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's kind of the history of it.
Right.
I made some notes here when you were going through the other day.
Yeah.
The filing date was a sticking point with you.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that. I mean, what
if-
did you
if-
mean?
If you recall, go ahead.
For the
Chris.
record, when you had your meeting Tuesday, that was the last day that you guys could vote to put it onto the ballot
Correct.
for the April 4th election, which
Correct.
the city will already have one on there
Correct.
for the Ward 1 race.
I think what I called it curious, because I do think it's curious. You've said yourself it's been discussed for 2 years. So why did we wait until a month, 45 days after the filing period for people to run against people to put this on the ballot?
Oh,
No,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it wasn't planned that way.
Yeah.
The swimming in peanut butter thing that I talked about. You paddle on this for a while and you paddle on that. And so we've got a whole lot of stuff in the air.
Sure.
And really what made it get put on, we talked about it off and on several times, and Brian checked with either Leroy or Billy One and went, hey, when's the last date to put this on here, or have we done missed it? And they told him, and I know Leroy told me, he said, well, and I think maybe he said in the meeting, or maybe it was when we was talking, but it's like, if you want it on there, we have to
Yes,
approve
tonight.
this
It was
meeting.
in that. Yeah, it was on
And
video.
there was absolutely zero thought of who would run against who or who wouldn't. With the timing of it, it's just, it probably would not have been on there had Brian went, well, if we don't get it on this one, then it's going to be 2 more years. He kind of woke up. It's like this.
So that's an important point, though.
Okay.
To clarify for me, to where I don't think it's curious anymore. So you can only do this every 2 years.
Well, we only have an election every 2 years.
Okay, that's my point. That's my
Not
point.
to have a
So-
standalone election.
Right, a standalone election.
Well, and
right.
that's another thing
Right.
here. You talked about, well, you're spending money to ask if you can have more money.
Well, it's about
I
$8
think
grand.
we'd be good stewards. We're paying for an election anyway.
But we're not paying. But we're going to pay more now because.
Well,
of this.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
Do you?
Yeah, it'll be anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 more, because you have to run it in every area instead
Each
of just
ward.
one. In
Well,
every ward.
and I knew that. But
those were numbers given to us by people that work with the elections.
But I never
So that's
asked
where that
that
came from.
question. But what Brian thought he was doing was going, hey, let's get it on this ballot, because we would never, or I would never
Approve.
vote
Yeah.
to go, hey, let's
Yeah.
have an election just to get us a raise.
Yeah.
And Brian,
I believe that.
Brian and my feelings both in talking about it, we're like, well, we've got to either get it on there or forget about it for a few years.
Right, and just to my point, the reason I use the word curious, because I think it was curious, and the deal about spending money, it is more money than it would have been if this wasn't on there. So just for clarity, I don't know to the penny, Dawn, but what you just told me helps me get my arms around it. Does everybody on the council feel the way you do? I don't believe that. I think there are some people that probably are glad this wasn't brought up, or talked about in detail like it was about getting this on to run an election, because I do believe that if this was out there, I think there'd be opponents to people on council who voted yes to put this to a vote of the people based purely on this issue. I really do. Now that's neither here nor there. I don't think there was anything cynical or underhanded done. I'm not trying to say that, but I do think the timing of it looks curious.
Well,
but you explained why,
and
I'm okay with that.
You know, I got to give you credit though. I used to see a lot of those kind of things when I was on the outside looking in, and now a lot of times it's when you're on the other side of the table, you don't realize even some of those things. You try to watch out for those things.
Sure.
I got to give a shout out here, James. I haven't forgot you. The last spur of the minute election thing. Let me tell you how that happened. I'm riding down the road 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was, and James called me up. Hey, what you doing? Oh, I'm just going over here, so-and-so. And he says, you know, tomorrow's the last day to file for city council. And I'm like, so it is. What are y'all doing this evening? And he's like, no, back up. It went over your head. And he's like, tomorrow's the last day. Me and you should be down there filing.
So it's James's fault.
There you go. It's because, well, we had kicked the idea around several times between us, and kind of what stopped us up to that point was our wives going, "Are you two idiots out of your mind? You don't know. Just no."
My wife's told me many times.
Well,
I floated the idea of me running for a board, like an elected board, and my wife looked at me and she goes, "You have the patience of a rattlesnake. That would be a colossal freaking failure." And I went, "Yeah." I said, "You're right. You're right. No, she's right.
But
she's right."
So anyway, back to my last spur of the minute election thing. Our wives have been, you know, we'd talked about it before, and they're both like, "You two idiots need to get another idea."
Go do something else.
They were right.
Yeah.
But when you get that itch, I can't speak with everybody, but when I'm seeing things, I'm a fixer, obviously. What I do for a living is fix stuff, and it's not all just mechanical stuff. If I see something I think I can improve or whatever, I have to get in the middle of it.
That's true.
It's just my nature. But anyway, I said, I don't know about that one, James. And he goes, but here's the deal. Laura's been saying no all these times, you know that. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, she's finally decided if you're running, I'll have some moral support or somebody I know. So if you'll run, I can run. And so you have to run. And I'm like,
this seems an awful lot like high school when I'd call up Brad Kleitz and say, listen, this girl said she'd go out with me if you'd go out with her girlfriend. It seems like a really bad deal.
It's my wife has always said, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. And then she caught herself and she goes, you know what? If that's something you really want to do, if you are really committed to that and that's what you want to do, then I thought that's what you should do if that's how you really feel. I support you no matter. That wasn't just my true feelings because they all know what comes with what that comes with.
There's a lot comes with it.
Yeah.
So James and I
especially on the local level.
Went to breakfast the next morning on the very last date you could file, and I'm like, you know, I've done stupider stuff. Okay. And so we went and got our.
Do you still feel that way?
The stupid part?
The stupider stuff?
Well,
depends on the day, right?
I would have to do some gazentas on this tablet to let you know, but I'll get back to you.
That's funny.
But anyway, it seems like me in elections and last minute deals.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up in this deal.
But I'm going to tell you what you just explained about the timing of it to me. And I'm just speaking for me, okay? That satisfies me. I don't, and I never thought that you, because I know you wouldn't. That's not something you would back up. You don't care if somebody wants to run, go pay your money and file and run.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I never thought that of you. I did have that thought of a few members. Just being really honest, transparent. Not they're bad people. I don't think that. I don't think we have any bad people on the board. I just think there's I think there's different motivators for different reasons for different people.
And until the agenda went out, some of them might not have even have realized
Right,
we were this
right.
close to even doing
Right.
this.
And to be,
Because,
yeah,
to be fair, we can't get a quorum.
Right, to talk about
most
that,
we
right,
can have
right.
is Larry Mullen Curley at one time.
yeah.
And so
But Larry can go meet with the
Yes.
new Mullen Curry later. Yeah,
He can,
so you
but-
can get the word out, but I understand that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
I think you've
So
done a good job of
that's
explaining that
2
question.
meetings.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
1 meeting, 2 meetings.
2 minutes. Yeah,
So that's how that part.
yeah. No, that made sense. That makes
the day.
sense.
You said you would rather see the money go to the apartment or
Different
to
the
departments
employees. The employees.
or money to the employees.
Yeah, yeah.
My thing on that, and I don't want to sound crass here about it, but the kind of money that we're talking about is money for the copier, or the amount of money in the whole scheme of the city.
It's $50,000 in the $15 million budget.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And myself, I'm all about taking care of the employees.
Absolutely.
We have, Public Works, when I got on, and I'm not saying that I changed it all, I'm just saying how much it's changed in the last 4 or 5 years. Those poor guys were, even
Nothing.
their shovel handles were broke.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And it just goes on up from there. So I have been a pro Public Works.
I agree with that.
And my thing, I guess, is kind of, I'm a blue collar guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a third floor white collar guy. My whole life I've been a blue collar guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to watch out for those departments. And I have went to, I went to Public Works. Tenny showed me around, pointed out some stuff.
Yep.
I go to the water treatment plant. I go to the wastewater plant. And, sometimes when I get wound up, Leroy will go, I'm not quite used to your style of being a councilman.
That's why you have these.
And well, but Newt doesn't always have them.
Well, you
But-
make sure he does.
But no,
Well, and Dawn, I know that about you. I think everybody in the community knows that about you. And I think my comments, I think the one thing that people are missing is that it was based on that this is something we raise our right hand and we volunteer to go do.
Right.
Our employees, this is how they feed their families.
right.
And I know you appreciate that. I know you do. So I'm not implying that at all.
But
I have a huge sticking point with the fact. Well, it's fair and balanced, right?
Huh?
It's fair and balanced, right?
yeah, but
Okay. But I have a
sticking
huge.
point. I said that up here.
No, I do. I have a huge sticking point on the example that was given was Edmond, Oklahoma,
Right.
and any way you look at it, and maybe it was just a poor choice, right, of comparison.
Well,
But any way you look at it, the total comp for the city council in Edmond is $35,000 a year. Or excuse me, be $700. Yeah, $35,000 a year. It's $15,000 less than what we're expected to pay our council because they have 5 members instead of 7, and they're paid $700 a month. So it's 35. Well, that's not true. It's $3,500 a month. So it'd be a little more than that. But
let me tell you about comps, how that
but-
works, because
educate me.
I'm kind of familiar with them.
Educate me.
We had the same deal, if y'all will remember, when I very first got on, and we had Bullet Gate in the city of Guthrie.
Yeah.
July of 2019. I
Bullet
believe.
Gate.
Whatever it was. But when I went through and got my comparison, I tried to find cities about our population. And from memory, I can't tell you which ones they were now.
Well,
But there's not a lot.
besides OHP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the other cities, I tried to find
Yes.
equivalent sizes. And then OHP, which covers the whole state, I got that, which it's easy to get their state
Right.
employment.
Yeah.
And then it's the same thing when I used Logan County, what they spent. And of course, at that time, one of the guys with Logan County was, when he saw my figures, he says, well, that's a bunch of crap. I know better than that. We're this. We spend a whole lot more. Your data is bogus. And I said, well, the way I got that data is I went to the commissioner and asked the commissioner, and the commissioner went to the clerk and said, hey, how much was spent? And so that's where I got those figures. But the point that I'm trying to get to is, okay, we weren't, to me, in my mind, I'm not comparing myself to Edmond, but it does not matter what you get for comparison figures. Somebody is going to say, well, that's lopsided, because the range, if you look this up on the Google machine, Councilman's salary is anywhere from like 18 or 19,000 to 90-some thousand.
If you look across the country,
New York
all
City,
size cities,
Baltimore.
but in Edmond, Oklahoma, it's $700 a month.
I know.
So I don't really care what it is in Los Angeles.
Well, I don't care what it is in Edmond. I'm in Guthrie.
But my point is that your council partner that put the deal on the agenda that you made the motion for,
Right.
compared everything to Edmond. That was he brought up Edmond 4 or 5 different times.
Well,
but when council does that, is it unfair to assume then that people are going to compare what you're asking for to what they're getting paid and looking at all other data?
In that scenario,
is that unfair?
A Guthrie police officer would make $100 less than an Edmond police officer. A Guthrie firefighter would make $100 less than an Edmond firefighter. That's what I hope he meant geography-wise, the Edmond comparison.
Well, he said it, and I remember he said, well, that's a city close to us. Well, they're not. They're close geographically, but
Correct.
That's all they are. And I wish I had his full list, because he didn't go through his full list. You know, he said, I want to say Waynoka maybe, 175 a meeting is what they're paying.
Well, I remember
And
Stillwater,
this one and that
he said
one.
$100 in Stillwater. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just going off what Brian said.
Yeah.
$100 a meeting for the mayor, which I don't think it should be separate. But anyway, $50 for a council member.
Yeah.
And a lot of those comparison numbers, you know, Billy had a list. Well, of course, Billy's were all in the low end, and they were all outdated. Billy has some site that lawyers use. I don't know. But that's where he got his figures. But exactly worded how it was, I pulled it up on Google. And in 1991,
I saw that. Yeah, I saw the same document.
That's where those numbers
Well, I told Chris that today. I said, I don't know this for sure, but I have a feeling it was this document. I just told him that today.
But the point that I'm making, it doesn't matter who we compare them to.
It's us.
It's us. And besides, I'm better than the guy in Edmond.
Well, so's our firefighters and so's our police officers. So pony up, pay them more money.
We have.
No. I got a couple more data. You're a data guy. I'm a data guy.
Okay.
Well, I know I know the council and Leroy and the council had to go search $150,000 for 3 new firefighters EMS. You know,
that's right. They did.
Yeah.
That is on top of the raises.
Correct.
And
That you guys got them.
And all of that.
Every city employee, every city employee is minimum $15.
And the thing of it is with the firefighters, if we have any more, we're going to have to start stacking them in a broom closet, because we don't have anywhere to put them.
Well, we need to build another fire department.
Well,
another fire station.
And all that takes, Phil, is a $4 million check from
Well,
you.
then you go ask for a bond. You let the election vote of the people decide if they want to do it.
Because if people say no, then they
because I guarantee you, the people that live in South Logan, that's still part of our responsibility, south side of Guthrie, they would rather have a fire department responding from there than where it is.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
But why doesn't the council put that out and let the vote of the people decide it?
Well, it's peanut butter, Phil.
But it's the vote of the people. But see, I think that's a more pressing issue than, just to be real frank, than whether I want you guys to get your expenses covered. I think that's great. That's great. I don't want you absorbing any more real dollar expense. I know your guys' time's worth money. I know that, and I'm not discounting that.
Yeah.
But I think that we talk about priorities when we say, well, it's just 50 grand out of a $15 million budget. Well, we got another board in town that's a volunteer board that has 7 members, right? They're elected just like everybody else. They have an over $30 million budget. They manage over 400 employees. They don't get paid.
We put the question out there.
No, I know, but the whole point about tonight was you said there were some things that we spoke about that if we had more information,
Right.
you wanted to. I'm just saying this is why we said what we did.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
And we've covered a couple of those.
Yeah,
The filing date that you were stuck on and why.
I wasn't stuck on it. I just simply.
You said it's my sticking.
No, I said it's one of my sticking points.
Right. And,
I have several sticking points.
But what I'm getting at, we're answering those and we're getting.
Right. No,
so
right.
I'm trying to go down.
But you're going to have a hard time justifying, I think, not just to me, because I've talked to a lot of people since this came about Tuesday. We're going to have a real hard time justifying a city council member in Guthrie, Oklahoma that manages, or I shouldn't say manages, I guess you do manage it, a $15 million budget, making $100 less a month than a city council person in the town that you all brought up as the example that manages a $394 million budget. That's going to be hard. That's going to be a hard one to get people to believe.
It probably is.
I mean, that's all I'm saying.
And, it's no snot out of my nose, Pastor.
I know that. I know that.
But,
I know that.
I can't compare my whole life to Edmond.
But I didn't compare it. The council did the other night. I wasn't the one. No, I said the council.
Brian did.
Okay, Brian, I'll give it. Brian did, but you made the motion to move forward at $600.
Was there any discussion not in the meeting, but maybe you look at 200? Because I remember, Terry Simpson, the superintendent before Mike Simpson, tried to have that bond deal that we're probably at zero. So we were going to go from. I mean, it was the Taj Mahal of all bond elections, the standalone gym and all this good stuff. I think it was going to be like a 30% hike, and a lot of people just didn't like that hike. But was there consideration of $200 or
there
$250?
Was.
Okay,
there was, and how it came about.
Because elections are hard to win in Guthrie, in Logan County.
Really hard to win. Really hard to win.
And you've won some.
In the discussion that we had about it, to me, it took on a different form in the eyes of the public when we quit asking for insurance and decided the cleaner way to do it was to make it a cash deal. So then when you look at these other places and you go, okay, so it's $200 a meeting or it's this much. Mm-hmm. And one of the thoughts that we had, which, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, we're looking, this thing hasn't been changed in 100 years since the charter was written. $600 might be a little high, but 10, 20 years from now, how's it going to look?
Yeah.
And if we go for the $200 deal, like you said, or $150 or whatever, to me, it's back to that deal of, I really wouldn't want to do the expense of an election to go, can we have $150?
But Don, you just said earlier you didn't realize it was an additional expense for this election.
No, I meant.
What I would add to that, and I see what you're saying. I like to use local examples. Before we built Charter Oak Elementary as school board, before Charter Oak and all that stuff, we could really use 5 brand new schools at that given time. Now, legally, because of cap purposes, you can't just go out and build 5, but it was steps, and so, it's basically all in at 600. Instead of maybe. Let's go like Edmond did. It was 350 originally. Then you bump up however many times. It just seems like this is the strategy you think about. What can we pass? What can win?
Yeah.
What can we win? We would love to have 5 brand new elementaries. The school board would love to have 5 brand new elementaries at $500 million. It ain't going to work here.
Right. But, we've seen that. Even at like $70 million, we couldn't pass it.
Well, they can put it out. Yeah. I mean, and even if it did pass, the people here have to be capable of paying it too.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's true. Correct. 100%. Yeah, you can trot out anything you want.
It took on a different form when we had to put a money number on it, and I think the public would have thought more about. Well, I don't mind them getting the insurance; they do spend a lot of time.
Yeah. But I mean,
money's money.
I know that.
I mean, no, I know you do. I'm just saying in general, money's money. I think there would still be opposition to that. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying there would be opposition.
Oh, there's always going to be opposition.
Sure.
Does the city
if I wanted to give everyone in town $600 a month?
Does the city of Edmond, are there, and I don't know this, do we know if they're paid, is their health insurance paid? I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know. I don't know.
No.
That'd be a good thing to get point of clarity on.
See,
and I'll find out.
Any election you have, there's going to be 25% right off the bat. It'll be no because taxes going up or whatever. I don't have any kids. You know,
I told Dawn.
No, but I'm just trying to think if trying to win an election would be how my approach of trying to do it. Now 600 might work. Heck, I don't know.
I told Dawn yesterday in our phone conversation that the 600. I think it's inappropriate. I'm not saying that's just me. So there might be, hell, you guys might get 90% of the vote and everybody disagrees with me, and I'm okay with that. But I told him yesterday, I said, if it was a lower dollar amount, I wouldn't have a heartburn with this. I really wouldn't. Did I not tell you that? Yeah. I mean, so it's not about that I don't want to recognize people's contributions or that I don't respect what they're doing, because I do. I respect some more than others, but I respect anybody that's willing to run for public office, because you're putting yourself out there. You're going to be away from your family. You're going to be away from your jobs. You're going to spend money. I get all of that. I think some of it is a philosophical belief that in a small town, and maybe I'm not saying this is right thinking, I'm just saying this is my thinking. In a small town, when you run for school board or you run for city council, and those are really the two big ones, right? Because county commissioners, those are paid because they get up every day and put their boots on and go to work, right? So it's different. Those are the only two I think that you can really compare. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's, for me, I use the term sticking point, and I don't mean that as a negative. It's just that's what pauses me to go, well, dadgummit. I mean, is that right? So I want to be really clear about that. It's not that I'm against recognizing something. I have a challenge with the logic that was used by Brian. I'll say Brian the other day about Edmond's 700. We're 600. I mean, at the end of the day, the citizens of Guthrie are going to be paying more to their city councilmen than the city of Edmond pays collectively. A total dollar amount. We're going to be paying more a year.
But I'm better.
And that's fine. That's fine. And guess what? I'm better than some people in my job. But they're in a bigger market, they make more money. I mean, that's true for every profession out there, and I know you do. So I want to be clear about that. I think it's the dollar amount for me, and I think that because honestly, I think the school board should get paid something. I mean, these people. That's me now. I've talked to people that tell me I'm completely wrong about that. It should be $1 a year. They're doing it for community service. Yeah. And that's fine. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But I think the argument that was made the other night, I shouldn't say argument, but the discussion that occurred the other night amongst the council members, well, I think the term I use is it's a bad look. I think is what I said. And my wife said, you could have picked a better term because that's implying that they're doing something wrong. And she's right. She's much smarter than me, as we all know. I don't think anybody's trying to do anything wrong here. I just think that it's a bad look, in that, to be quite frank, and I told Chris this off the air, I think you've miscalculated twice as a city councilman, this being one of them. This is just my opinion. I said it on the air, and I'll say it again right now. I think you're the best city councilman we have. I think you work harder, you care, in every way. I think you're the best city councilman we have. I truly believe that.
Easy.
I do. No, I do. No,
you don't have to say that.
I don't have to, but I've said enough other stuff to you over the years. Might as well tell you the truth on that too, right?
Yeah.
But I really believe that, and I think most people I talk to do agree with that. I think that the challenge is that we're going for the whole tamale, and I understand your logic on, well, down the road, what if we have to? Well, it still comes back to business, right? To me, it comes back to business. And when I look at 15 million, I'd much rather have data on people that are managing a $15 million budget in communities in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
What are they paid?
Well,
See, that's, and I know it's not easy to find.
I know.
But I would feel more comfortable if I knew what that dollar amount
And I will
was.
be the first to admit, as far as the dollar research,
Yeah.
we didn't get to the point where it was turned into a dollar figure
Until that day.
until like the week before.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
all of the research and everything we were doing, and the reason the process took so long, like you said, can we even get on it?
Right.
Is it available? Is it this? Is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that?
yeah.
And then when we get down to the end and we go, well, if everybody doesn't get it, then I don't want to support it because I don't want to single people out. And the money part of it just kind of at the last minute. And,
Yeah.
and
Well,
may
you
be
saw
right.
but you saw it on the video. It was, it wasn't like you guys huddled up and said, let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really clear about it. I'm not saying that. I just think that it's $15 million budget. I'd like to know what other communities that are the same size of ours, how are their council people compensated?
Well, Billy Wheeler, the city attorney, he had his numbers. I got in the article here whether this is true or not, but this is what he had. Midwest City pays their mayor $400 a year, and council members $300.
That's from 1991.
That's at
That is from
1991.
1991. And because I pulled that same document up, and because when I first saw it, I was going, good Lord. And I looked at the data and said, well, shit, hell, I wasn't old and fat in 1991. You know?
Yeah,
so it's
it
30
was
years
old.
ago. It's over 30
And
years ago.
I'll give you that. When we
Yeah.
should have probably researched the number more.
Yeah.
But we were
Trying to
during all
get-
the
yeah,
research. We were talking insurance, and
Right. That's
we
logical.
weren't going for
No, that's
money.
logical. Yeah, that's logical.
And so that's how that came about.
Is it too late to change the amount now?
I do not know.
Because just as a taxpayer, Don, honestly, if it wasn't too late to change the dollar amount, I think there'd be a greater chance of it passing if the dollar amount. And again, I didn't bring up Edmund, Brian did, and then
Right.
and then that's the comparison that we ran with that night at the council meeting, the primary comparison. I think there'd be a lot of people. We all look at social media. I mean, you can kind of see what people are saying. Now, there's always the jackwagons that can't even vote, that have 2 cents, or don't even live here, or they sure can't vote in a city election. I'm not talking about those people, but I think you see comments and they're like, yeah, I mean, they're donating their time. I think they should get comp something. Yeah. I'm in that category. Yeah. Me and little buddy disagree. Now, not that you don't want them comps, but just you personally. Yeah. So I don't have a challenge with that. I just think it needs to be based on data for communities that are operating a $15,000 budget with 126 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees. I think that gives you a more realistic number to put on the ballot. And the beautiful thing about all this, the people get to decide, and I know you agree with that. But I think that would be more realistic and in line than because it's too easy to shoot holes through $600 a month, knowing that you're better, because I think you are probably better than most of them, right? But I think it makes it way too easy for people to sit around and go, well, good Lord, we're paying more for our city council than Edmond is, and so if it was a lower dollar amount, I hope you can go adjust it, because I think if you can adjust the dollar amount, I think there's a lot of people that would support that.
And
I really do.
And I was not the lead on the deal.
No, I know that. I know that.
But I'll tell you, like I already have.
Yeah.
As far as the dollar amount.
Yeah.
When we decided that insurance coverage wasn't the way to go,
yep.
Leroy suggested, well, if we convert that
to a stipend,
to a stipend,
yeah,
and so that's how it came.
No. That's all logical, brother.
Anyway,
I'm not.
And I'm not saying everything we did was bulletproof. I just wanted some
clarity. And I respect that. I do. I respect that.
Another thing, the remark was made. Well, to get a good city manager, maybe you put that money in, raise them salaries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we're paying. We do a salary survey.
Sure.
Through OML, OMAG, all of those organizations.
Saw the data today. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right now, we're paying at the top end of the bracket, like you say.
For our size of
For
city.
our size.
100%. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't think our problem with our candidates that came in were because we're not paying enough.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
We researched that and did
Sure.
the survey.
Sure.
And we're paying it, towards the top end of it now.
Yep.
And, as far as I'm concerned, Leroy's worth every penny.
Agreed. Agreed.
there's-
And I know you know that. He's a friend of yours. I know that.
Yeah.
I mean, not just a professional, not just a professional friend, but I know you guys, and I think anybody that's ever spent any time around Leroy would agree he's worth every penny we pay.
Yeah.
He's been here
so
6
it's-
years.
Yeah, so that's not
He's got a lot of wisdom.
a lot of wisdom.
And
I don't know why he wants to retire. Retire is boring. That's boring.
well, and he, which I'm not going to say a whole lot because I'm not going to speak for him.
Sure.
But he don't want to just go home and fall down like a bumper jack. He's just
that.
tired of being
Yeah.
on the go button around the clock.
Yep.
Takes a lot to be a city
And
manager.
that's the thing. He said, he still wants to do something 2 or 3 days a week
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just tired of being
All the
the
time.
guy.
Yeah.
Animal control, library,
Yeah, everything.
please.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. But and I think the context of what was said in that, Dawn, Wednesday night when we did our open mic show and we talked about this, the context was, if we're going to spend the money, let's spend it here. Let's spend it here. Let's spend it here. Again, those were my personal feelings. Doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's how I feel about the situation. Because I pray to God we get somebody that someday, after they've done it for 40 years, can fill Leroy's shoes. But that person, Leroy falls in this category for me. You're not going to replace Leroy. We're not going to find a guy that has that amount of wisdom, that amount of knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but we got to find as good a candidate as we have. And I agree with you. The pay on that is appropriate. It's at the high end. I agree 100% with that. Totally. It was this context of, if we're going to spend it, I'd rather spend it over here, or over here, or over here, or over here.
Anywhere but here.
No, the dollar amount is the amount I have a challenge with. I don't personally have a problem. I think you guys' expenses should get reimbursed. And if we want to do a stipend that I think is appropriate and in line with a $15 million budget in a town of 11,000 people, I'd get behind that.
Well, and when I said it's $50,000 and a $15 million budget, we have the money to do it.
Sure.
We have the money
Sure.
to do it. Everything is going really well right
Sure.
now. And, moving forward now, when Leroy came on, he was cutting jobs.
Yeah.
He was.
And, things have gotten better. Sales tax dollars are good. And that's
Well, it's just like, and you brought up the ammo stuff earlier, and I thought that was a good, I even made notes, Dawn, because I thought of 29. Well,
he never does that for football.
Chris had to write them for me. I don't read or write well, but I said in July of 2019, you rightfully so asked questions regarding the amount of ammo being used in range training.
Yeah.
Thought that was completely appropriate. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. We should, right? The amount being spent was around $20,000 to $30,000, right in there, right? Because we went back and looked at the. Well, we went back and looked at the
No,
data.
it's a lot bigger than that.
Well, those are the numbers that were shared at the council meeting back in July of 2019. Maybe it is, but I'm just sharing with you the data that I have. Why were we concerned about that, but not an ongoing $50,000 a year expense for council pay?
Well,
And I'm not saying now that's not an original question. Somebody else asked me that.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I will have to pull up my data to tell you that. But I think it was a bigger number.
Yeah.
And two, and by the way, that situation changed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, yes, the dollars and the numbers was brought up, but there was no responsibility, no
accountability. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because it was, and I use this term loosely, a pallet comes in, it's put in there, and if you need it, go get it.
Right.
And
well, first of all, purely from a control of ammunition, you'd like to have some kind of sign, because I know when I was in the military, There was a lot more rounds where I was at than that's ever been in any PD stations for a town this size.
Yeah.
And I promise you, every bullet was accounted for. They knew who signed it out, who used it, where'd it go, what were you doing.
At the time I brought that up, we had enough rounds for, and I'll remember this, to shoot every man, woman, and child in this town 10 times.
There's only 6 of them deserve to be shot, Don.
Tell those guys that, but we shouldn't be digging up old bones that are...
Agreed, but I just think that was something that was brought up, and I think, and like I said, rightfully so. I think you asked good questions, and I think that stuff needs to be asked. And there was a change to procedure on how you track them, and I think that's good. I think you did your job there. I think that the challenge I come up with is I have a hard, and it's just me again. I have a hard time reconciling whatever the number is. Okay, and I take you at your word. If it's higher than that, I was just going off what was stated during the council meeting, but
if it's easy to get to, I'd pull it up.
Yeah, no,
Well,
and
I have, Police Chief Don Swagger told council members the department has averaged $20,350 in ammunition costs over the last 4 years. Records show the department spent $26,619.13 in the current budget year compared to $19,007 in 2018, $21,700 in 2017, and
So
$13,200
maybe I'm thinking bullet numbers.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Bullet
That
numbers,
makes sense.
That very
Yeah.
well could
That
be.
makes sense. But I think the dollar amount, that was, and I thought the gentleman that asked me that question, and I never would have.
I'm going to interrupt you
Yeah.
because you said towns our size. You looked up Chickasha,
Yep.
$5,880.
Yeah.
Compared
So I'm
to
not,
$26,000.
I'm not
So
arguing that at all.
Chickasha is a good
You know,
comparison.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm not arguing that at all. I think that was handled fine. I think that the concern now is that now, 4 years later, we're going to create a $50,000 annual expenditure. But we were concerned about, and I think you were more concerned about how it was being tracked and what was being done. I don't think you were concerned about the dollar amount.
My thing was, where is it all going?
Yeah,
Is
correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it going to a flea market? Does it go to the gun show?
100%.
You
No,
know,
I agree with that.
And the main thing we got out of that is still got addressed as far as how it's handled. Now it's brought
control.
in.
Yep.
It's controlled.
Yep.
And you can still get it when you need it. And I
Yeah,
said it
yeah.
back then. I want the guys to have what they need.
No,
to
you
do their
support
job.
law enforcement. I want to say that, get out ahead of that. I never thought you didn't support law enforcement. I know you do.
Yeah.
And I think a council person, their number one job is to ask questions and to make sure that there's the right things being done to protect the money of taxpayers. I think that's 100% correct. So I don't. You get no argument
There's
out of
some
me.
people that don't see it that way.
Yeah, no, I understand.
There's some people think you don't like firemen or you don't
Sure,
like the police or
sure,
whoever.
sure,
but,
sure.
you
Well,
know.
that's not true. I know that's not true.
No, it's you know, and I'm just like a parent with my kids. I might hate some of the stuff they do growing up,
But I love them.
Still love
That's
it.
right.
You know, and it's kind of like with you.
Yeah,
Phil.
exactly.
You know,
No, that's true. That's
you
true.
know, it is.
That's a fair statement.
You know, so
We all agree to be kind of weird anyway.
What? If Don and I loved each other all the time?
Well, just in general.
Well, it's 2023.
you know, come on, limber up a little bit.
Yeah, we don't want to be the.
Another point. You said if it's good for 2024, you'd be fine with it.
Well, I said I would be. I said I'd be fine with 600. I said I would be
didn't say
fine.
the
I said I'd be fine with compensation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say 600,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
said that. Well, by the Constitution, we can't vote ourselves a raise in office. So even if this passed, we would all have to start another term in order.
So it
to
wouldn't
go
start until you started your new term.
Right.
I'm so glad you pointed it out because I don't think not only me, I don't think a lot of people knew that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
legally, we can't vote ourselves a raise. And so even if it passed, it means nothing for the people sitting in office right now.
So with the election, so the city council elections that are coming up, whoever wins that, this would not go in effect until they had to run for re-election again, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
Until we started a new term.
Each individual council person.
Yes.
Okay.
So this time, see.
So like Ward 1 has a race. If this were to pass, well, of course, it takes some time to get into the system.
Right, but they would be able to start collecting it before. You ran unopposed, right? But when's your term? Since there's not an election, is that the trigger point?
Starts
the election.
It's your term.
Okay.
You start a new term.
Okay.
I could, if it passed tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would not be eligible until May, when my new term started.
Right. So
it would be close. It would be close.
Since the city council election is coming up, regardless if you have an opponent or not, once the election's final, if this passes, then once it's all done, a month or two later, then you would be eligible to start
if you do another term.
Yeah. Right.
And that's another thing. See, the way the
so really, you guys would be eligible for it right away. I mean, not right away, but
half of us.
But
half of
okay, half the people.
See,
Right.
And that's where
that's right, because it rotates. Yeah.
The way it's staggered.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be everybody all.
So who wouldn't be eligible this term?
Well, everybody, Don, the mayor, Bothroyd, and the new one coming
James,
in.
They would be eligible.
Would be eligible. So Jim
Tracy,
wouldn't.
Jim, Jeff Taylor, and Tracy would not be eligible.
Okay. I think that's important to get out there.
And that brings up another topic here. You said Tracy was the only one that voted appropriately.
I said he voted no.
Yeah. And you said he's the only one that voted appropriately.
Yeah, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I talked to Tracy about his vote, not that, because he had made a remark to me privately, and that might have been between him and I don't know if he wants to say that. So later I asked him, I said, did you vote no because of the remark that you had mentioned to me earlier? And he said, no. He said, myself, I feel like I haven't been on council long enough and I haven't contributed enough that a stipend is a deal to me. And he said that was his reason for the no vote.
Yeah, the reason I said he voted correctly was on the issue, I agree it should be a no. That was my thought process behind it for what was presented.
And the thing of it is, we're just asking the boss.
Yeah, the people.
You know,
we're
not.
No,
we're not voting ourselves.
100%.
So we
100%.
all vote no. All we were doing is going, should we ask the boss?
Agreed.
And
as one of the bosses, that was all I was doing was just expressing my opinion.
Yeah. I know. And you got that. You were talking about being able to pay for it. And like Chris said, it's always there. And I'm happy with this deal that I'm going to bring up here. Last month, the increase from last year to this year, just in sales tax, was like $75,000.
Huge. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's cool. I love to see it going in. Just the increase from 1 month would pay for this program for a year and a half. It's back to that, it's 50,000 out of 15 million, I guess. But to me, when I sat up there and I $120,000 worth of pretty pictures for the engineers to draw us pictures.
Right.
Something that
you did pretty good, Don. You went almost an hour without mentioning engineers. You did a really good job.
That's a record.
Hey,
they get paid. They get paid no matter what.
That's a record.
For the record, the engineers get paid no matter what happens.
Yeah.
If the dirt gets dug up or not, they get paid.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
And so it really, and it's not.
Yeah.
That one engineer is worse than the other, because I don't have any experience with others.
Well, you guys purchased a $50,000 truck. Last councilman, you won't see till 2024.
Right.
That's
We did.
one small example.
Right.
So to me, it's just one thing in the line of a lot of others. But
Sure.
I'm sure there's somebody that's going to see this and go, oh, that's the way he views it. It's just
Well, but that's one thing I've always really appreciated about you, even when you and I are in one of our timeouts. You know, I'll tell you this. If somebody came to me and told me Dawn Channel said it was going to rain, I'd go get an umbrella. I know you tell the truth, right? And you're not afraid to state what you think, regardless of how. I mean, I respect the PWAT. I respect that totally. So I just want that out there too. I don't think anybody's being trying to be. I don't think there's any underhanded thing about this at all. I just think that it's anytime you're asking for something that, like you said, for 100 years paid $1, and we're jumping to 600. There's a little sticker shock there.
There is.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's a lot of it.
In 1984, down here at, it wasn't Austin Chevrolet. Who was after Austin?
Jim Miles?
No.
Ayers?
It wasn't down here?
Where Shorts is now.
Oh, Shorts.
Oh, was it Cap Nelson?
No.
Okay. I ran out of all the auto dealers I know now.
It was Austin. Bill Knight.
Bill Knight, yep. Bill Knight. Yep.
In 1984, I bought a 3/4 ton Silverado with all of the gadgets that you could get, 4-wheel drive, on and on and on.
Now, how old were you in 84, Don?
Let's see.
20 what? You was young 20s, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gave.
That's the most important thing in the world when you're in your young 20s. You got to have that truck.
Well, I used mine to work.
Yeah, right.
But I gave $13,725.
It's about the same what they are now.
Yeah. That was my thing. Now that truck would be $90,000, $100,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
the
insane.
way everything changes.
Insane.
And maybe some of this is sticker shock.
Yeah, I think there's part of that. Yeah.
You know, and another remark that was made that I kind of want to address, and this was from your brother. Well, I think Phil said it, but then your brother was a strong amen. Don't run. If it's a big deal, if you don't want to put in the time, don't run. I didn't run for the money.
No, you didn't.
And I'm not sitting up here complaining about the money. I just kind of wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
I got in because, and I can't speak for everybody, I got in because I saw some things I wanted to try to make better. And another point that was brought up, you guys said, well, when you want to raise, you have to set up and tell the boss how much you did and how good you are. When you don't do that. That's not, no, you don't. Well, in my opinion, you're wrong on that.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember me saying that, but
I think it was
okay.
a comment that if you have to tell everyone how good you are,
How good you're doing, then maybe you're not doing that
that
good.
comment?
It was along that
Along
line.
those
But it
lines.
wasn't exactly how you just said it.
When you're asking for a raise and you have to tell them how good you are.
Well, I don't think. Well, I know I didn't say that about raise.
Well,
I know that,
and I
but
can't tell you if you said it.
no, I didn't. But I
did.
right. But what I will say is the
remember bringing it
intent
up.
is exactly what Chris just said. You know, and I think you would agree with this. Anybody, because I've heard you say things similar, not about city or about this. You know, if some old boy's got a bark about how good he is, he's probably not that damn good.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the intent and the spirit of the comment.
And
Now, I think you guys do a good job. I
you
want to
know
be clear
where
about
I'm
that.
going. I'm going to say, you know, which I could never be the third banana. I would
Well, you
never
could be,
qualify.
but you don't have enough
could be.
pills. Not enough pills.
I couldn't reach the line.
Not enough pills.
But in the event that I was the third banana, and I go, Chris, I've been here 5 years. You think we could come up with a little more money for me because gas is higher and this and that? The first thing my boss is going to say is, what have you done? What do you think you deserve one?
But are you an employee, Don?
Do
Are,
what?
are you an employee of the city?
I am an employee of the public.
Are you in the employ? Are you an employee of the city though?
No.
Right. And that's a big differentiating thing to.
Well,
to
But I
what
think
point
he's
you're
saying he's
no, I
asking,
understand
he's
what he's
asking
saying.
the people.
I understand. No, and I get that.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
I do. I think, but I think that the nuance of this topic is important. I think it's important. I mean, you know, I immediately said, hell yeah, spend the $50,000. Give it to the people that make their living every day. Okay. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate or value what people are doing. But I think the way it was framed, the way it was presented, the dollar amount that was set, the examples that were given, I think you guys are running, talk about peanut butter. I think you're in peanut butter with a 200-pound backpack, because I just don't think it's something that most people are going to go, 600. Okay.
Well, they might not.
No, but you're right. Let the people decide.
And that's the deal. No, I'm not an employee of the city, but I do consider myself an employee of the public.
Absolutely.
In the position
Absolutely.
that I'm in.
I agree with that.
And that's why
I agree with
I
that.
will answer my phone. I will take your phone call.
Every time.
I might not, some of them that I take, they might not like what I tell them. They might not like the answer. But I feel responsible to talk to them or to try to address their problem or whatever the thing is. And I do feel like I'm the employee and they're my boss, even though they pay me the dollar.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I take, every job I take on, I'm all in.
Yep.
And that's just part of it.
But what other board? I mean, and I'm asking this because I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious. What other boards before city council have you sat on? And I really don't know. It may be 50 of them. It may be 2 of them.
City council,
Yeah.
I never was on one.
Okay.
As far as
Now,
like park boards and
Right. I was just curious. I just didn't know.
and that was, you see it written down here too. It's not just city council.
I wish I could read your writing, Don, but I can't.
Well,
I've been trying all night. But mine's worse than yours, so we're okay.
we're not only just on council.
Right.
Pretty much everybody on the council, and I'd have to verify it 100% if we all were, but I know the majority of us are either on HPC or
Something.
all these other,
Yeah.
and some of them were the, you know the term better than I do. We don't have a vote on the board,
Right.
but we
Recommend
we kind of oversee it and make sure they don't get off.
So like maybe like the planning commission, maybe?
represent the council on the
You present, they do the research and they present to the city council and the city council make recommendations.
recommending body.
There's a word for
Oh,
it.
ex
Yeah.
officio.
Ex officio.
Oh,
yes.
okay. The official word.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an official.
Yeah.
So we all do a lot of that other
Sure.
kind of stuff too.
Sure.
And another thing that I told Leroy, and I've probably told this to others too, if this were to pass and I get the money, you know what's probably going to happen?
I think I know what you're going to do with it.
Well, we're probably going to have more employee barbecues.
That's exactly right. No, I don't doubt that at all.
And you guys, I don't know if you're aware of it, and I'm not bringing it up to put a feather in my hat or anything, but a couple of years ago, I came up with the deal at Christmas time. I told the other council, I said, we're always telling them we appreciate them and we're this and we're that. I said, let's put our money where our mouth is. What do you got in mind? And I said, well, let's send them on a vacation. So the past 2 years, I started it 2 years ago, and Leroy and the city council, we would go together out of our own pockets and buy vacations and give to employees at the Christmas party.
Pick different employees to do it for.
We have a
Selection process. Somebody makes a submission maybe or
no.
Okay.
We always, everybody gets some sort of a gift.
Yeah.
There's a big table there. It might be a gift card to a restaurant
Right.
or whatever, but everybody gets a gift. And we just put these trips in the process. So when the employees come in and they sign in, they get a ticket with a number on it. And of course the other half goes in the hopper.
Right.
And the way we did it this year, we went, okay, we're drawing for this. Who owns it now?
Yeah.
And you pull
And
it
they
out,
get that.
and whoever it is gets it. So it's a completely random deal.
I didn't know about that, but it doesn't surprise me.
But Well, I just told you that to tell you that if this went through, that with my share of it, the employees would get better trips. We would have more barbecue.
Sure.
You know,
I don't doubt that.
You know, one time after the ice storm and everything, we fed them all ribeyes and that kind of stuff. So my point is, it's not for my living.
I know that.
It's not. It's not. I don't even really like that we had to put a number on it, but it's the only clean way to do it.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm kind of excited. I mean, if it did work, or if it did pass, one of the things that I would do is I would put the pressure on the rest of the council in December to go, why don't we all just take December's money and let's send a bunch of people on a lot of vacations. And I would do that in a minute.
I don't doubt that.
Because, you know, I think a lot of them.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do.
And
I know you do.
that's my...
When you said, if this passes, and I said, I have a pretty good idea what you'd do with it.
Well,
I've never thought this was about the money for you, Don. Ever.
I know.
Ever, not once. So, you know.
And I'm just trying to give my feelings towards
the
employees.
Sure. Well, I think anybody that's seen you, because everybody does notice when you cook for the people and you do the stuff. And you don't just cook for city people. You've went out and cooked for county people before.
Yeah.
And so,
I cook for whoever shows up.
Well, he's a pretty good cook. I mean, I'd like to tell you he's not, but he's a pretty good cook. So none of what you just said surprises me.
Well,
Doesn't surprise me.
To me, I would be excited to get that kind of money to do that kind of stuff.
To give back, sure.
And that is just my feelings.
Yep.
That is not anybody else on the council. But it's, you know, that'd be pretty cool to have that at my disposal to do stuff with for the employees because.
Could you guys just create it? Could you guys just create something like that with the money and do that anyway? I'm just asking. I don't know how city government works. I don't even know if that's possible.
Oh,
just take the money. Yeah. So if it's 600, take 300 of a month, put it in a pool that you're going to give back out to the employees.
You know,
I mean, I don't know. This isn't I want to be really clear about this. It's some gotcha thing. Yeah. I'm just asking the question because I know there's a lot of rules in city government charters that allow certain things and don't allow certain things.
And that's something I don't know. I've never, you know, but I do know the employees like the vacations.
Sure.
Because I know some of them have talked about, and it may happen this next year, they said, some of them have been talking amongst themselves. They said, hey, how about if each one of us gave up 2 days of leave, whatever that amounts to,
can go in.
We put that in the pool to make it bigger.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I'm like, you know, if you guys want to do it,
I think it's great.
I would love, you know.
Well, to me, but that shows and I think this needs to be said by somebody other than you. That goes to show the good culture, the team atmosphere the city has, and that doesn't just happen. I mean, when you got people, you know, saying those kind of things, offering those kind of things, the city staff, everybody on the city staff, every employee should be thanked for that, but also the council should be thanked for that, for being a part of that, you know, and I think that's important. And listen, Chris has heard me say this a million times. You know, I think the council, this is the best council we've had since I've lived here. I've lived here 22 years, and I really believe that. You know, so again, I want to make sure when this plays that people understand, because I'm only speaking for myself, this isn't you know, I think everything you guys are doing is awesome. I do. I just think that on the dollar amount and the issues and the stuff that presented, I don't like it. It doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's just me personally.
Well, to me, those kind of things just help
morale.
Make a team.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And, you know, it's a lot easier to get things done if everybody's comfortable with each other and you
pulling the rope in the same direction. Yeah, 100%.
That's probably the one thing I would say that it's always be the armchair quarterback looking at it. But, when we had
Oh, here comes Mr. Chapel.
yeah, when we had, no.
What?
Do we have a special guest?
Come on in.
The Monday, Mr. Chapel is the Wednesday morning quarterback.
Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Because I can ask him.
Oh, day after the council.
Yeah, I can ask him Tuesday afternoon. We got this, we got that. It's a bad. What would you do? And he's going, I told you years ago what I'd do. Why would you even want in that position? But then magically Wednesday morning he can come in and go, well, what y'all should have done.
Well, he's just trying to be a good friend, Don.
All right, you altered my question. You altered my thinking.
He's just trying to be a good friend.
Right. This $600 deal that came up, did you talk to constituents about that? The people who actually make the vote, did you say, hey, what would you think about if the council got a $600 stipend? Was there?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I
what,
didn't.
and when you have like the visitors tax, a lot of us went out and talked, that was passed last April. We talked to Little League coaches, we talked to businesses, talked to community people,
And-
because they're hard to pass.
Yeah.
Schools have committees that
Yeah.
put bonds together.
Part of that was probably, like I said, it evolved to a dollar amount in a very short time span before we had to either do it or don't.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't time. It's not like we didn't want to or whatever. It was a hurry deal to get it.
See, I think I would have liked, and I'm just going to say this to my representatives, which is Brian and Jeff.
Correct.
If this was something that's been talked about even casually over the last couple of years, like you said, which I believe you, I see those guys all the time. Something where you're going to ask to give yourself basically a 600% pay raise. I would have thought they would have asked some constituent, what do you think of this?
Well,
I mean, I know you got a lot going on, but that's kind of a big deal.
yeah. I know Brian knew that it's been talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jeff knew.
But I'm just okay. That's fair. But I think I would have hoped. And listen, hindsight's always 20/20. So I want to be really clear about that. But
Yeah,
just us sitting
is.
here tonight talking.
Well, just because it happened.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
But just
and that's the thing. I just wanted to explain
Absolutely.
Yeah,
how it
absolutely.
actually happened.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And what the intention was
Yep.
and all of that.
Yep.
Could we have done better? Sure.
Everybody can
Every
on
time I
things.
do something, I need to get better.
yeah. It's
And
true for all of us.
And I keep the schools learn through the hard way of
Yeah.
failed bonds over years
Yep.
after
Yep.
years
Yep.
after years
That's
after
how you learn.
years, and you
Yep.
you kind of ran it as a political race to try to win it. And so
Yeah.
that's that was my only thing. So because $200-$300. Like Phil said, I can get.
But
behind it.
I wouldn't have. I couldn't guarantee I'd vote for it.
Yeah,
But I sure as the heck wouldn't have any opposition to it. And I want to be clear about this.
I would get. I get it.
When we talked about it Wednesday night, I told Chris, I did. He can tell you this. Ronnie can tell you this. So it's not like I'm going to go out and actively beat the streets to try to defeat it.
Right,
It was a topic of conversation that we talked about, and this is where, because I think when it's stuff like this, and that's why I'm so glad you called Chris, and then you and I talked yesterday. I think it's what's most important is you get facts out, and you make sure that people understand the why behind
Right.
what the decision was. Come April 4th,
Yeah.
everybody gets to walk in there and cast a ballot. And that's the beautiful thing about our country.
If you're registered, you better go register.
Yeah, go register if you're not registered. But
I kind of wanted to. Here I am using one of my dad's sayings.
yeah, I do that constantly.
Dad would say we needed to order feed from the co-op or whatever, and we're working in another county off somewhere, and on the way home, he's going, well, I need to go by the co-op, I need to order food, or
Feed, yeah.
feed, and I'm like, Dad, they have this thing called the telephone. It's been a long day.
Could have just
Can
called.
we just call them and tell them to bring it? And he would say, I want to look them in the eye.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I am. I want to come in here and look everybody in the eye.
Sure.
And explain, it's not about greed. It's not about we're trying to get us
and that's why you're one of the leaders on the council.
That's why you're
whether
leader.
people like it or not like it, or topic to topic, they like it, don't like it. I think and I appreciate you doing that, because it answers a lot of questions and how it came out, and try to get rid of all. And it's like the visitor tax. We're not going to change anybody's mind.
Right.
As long as you have all the information available.
That's accurate.
That is accurate. That is the biggest goal I hope we all have.
Yeah.
Some people are going to make stuff up just to beat it the wrong way. And that's the wrong way to go about things. To have all the information and then make your decision.
And like I said that night, if it passes, I'll be there. If it don't pass, I'll
you'll be
there.
Yeah.
It's not about that to me.
We know that.
And, I have to be tough on the outside and thick-skinned and gruff, because my insides are like goo for something, for a cause or something.
Yeah.
I can't even go there. I can't. I'll lose my composure and stuff.
Yeah.
And
as a guy who's never lost his composure, Don, I don't understand that.
Okay, now I need
these. Well, and I want to say this one more time. I never questioned your motives, you as a man. I don't. And I don't on anything you do. Even if I disagree, they go, well, Don obviously really truly believes that, and he's done his homework. I may not agree, but I respect the daylights out of that. So there is nothing, and I hope that comes across. I know I've said it 100 times tonight, but so I hope people get it. But I really, I do really respect what any elected official does. Mm-hmm. And just like you want to pay attention to numbers, make sure there's accountability, and I mean this, I think every citizen has a right and a responsibility to do the same thing. I wish everybody did.
Yeah.
But I just think there was a miscalculation on this issue. Nothing devious, nothing underhanded, but I just think there's a miscalculation about it. But like you said, the good news is come April 4th, they'll go cast their ballots and we'll figure it out. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, Chris could tell you this, I don't care. I mean, I'm just going to say what I think.
And it's not that it's about the money.
No.
I'd love to see it happen, because I think we could do a lot more, or I could. I can't tell you what the other guys are going to do with it.
Sure.
But to me, I would put it into the cause. And every one of these things that I get into, like when we had the Blowing Smoke cook-off in June, you got it all planned out, and then you get down to the end.
Something happens.
You pay for this, and you need to pay for that. And
something happens.
Here, just go get it.
Yeah.
Just go get it. And I always put a lot more into it. But I don't have them, any of these things that I get into, whether it's on the council or for the public.
Right.
I don't have them with the intent of making a living on
Right.
them. I truly have them with the intent of just giving back.
Yeah.
Because to me, and here I'll go giving a sermon, but this town has paid for my house. Mm-hmm. It's paid for every vehicle I've ever had. It's raised my kids. It's helped me raise my kids right.
Right.
It's provided for me all my adult life. So when I do something like this, it's just a thank you.
Yeah, you love the community, and I think everybody knows that. I mean, I really do. I think it's. I had a guy tell me one time, this is going to shock you, Don. I got emotional about something, and him and I went back and forth, and then a couple days later, I do what I call my apology tour, and you've been on the receiving end of that a couple times. And I showed up his office, and he looked at me and he says, "I don't ever question your heart."
Yeah.
And I think that reasonable people can understand that we can have disagreements about things. We can think, but it's not personal. It's not. I mean, as I told Don yesterday, I said, I think the world of his wife. I think the world of his two daughters. And
grandchild.
Grandchild. And I do. I mean, so it's never about motive with me, but I'm also not going to just act like I don't. Just like you said, it's not in your fiber to do things a certain way. It's not in my fiber. If I really disagree about something, somebody ask me about it or that's presented to me, I'm going to tell you what I really think. This is my hope. I hope that we can change the dollar amount. I really do.
But you also said if we changed it, you still don't know what you'd vote for it. So
no, but I think, but I think it would
win the vote.
But I think it would win the vote.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
What number would win the vote with you?
That's exactly.
You know what I think?
That's where it comes back to talking to people.
Talking to people in the community, and I think, and I know it's not easy to find, but I would charge somebody to find out what is the average compensation for a city that manages a $15 million budget, our town.
Yeah.
How are they paid? And I think you'd have a greater chance of it passing. See, you're right. If it's $2,400 a year at $200 a month or at $7,200 a year, it's not going to make or break the city.
No.
And I understand that. But there is something to be said. And listen, I watched the video back. A couple city councilmen were pretty eager to get that $600. Okay, and that doesn't look good.
That might be. And I hardly ever go back and watch the meetings because I'm in them. So,
yeah, sure.
And unless somebody tells me, hey, did you see Case picking his nose?
Yeah.
I'll go back and see if he really was picking his nose. But
same thing we do on our shows.
Oh,
I don't watch all of them. I don't watch every football game we broadcast unless someone says something.
Another thing that you guys said there was it puts a target on us.
I think it does.
Well, I laughed.
Well, it's okay.
No.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
No, you
That's
don't.
okay. Okay, you're right. Go ahead.
I laughed when you said putting a target on, and I'm like, we went through COVID, we went through the mask deal, we went through the right wingers that came to town and wanted to have a shootout, on and on and on. I don't think we can put a bigger target on Phil.
Well, but I realize you guys have dealt with more serious stuff. I'm not saying that.
That wasn't my point.
Well, what's your point?
My point was I laughed at this being a target. It just.
Well, let me explain what I meant.
Okay.
I think you guys have been flying because you do a good job, and we're not having these kind of discussions. Nobody's showing up, writing down for 5 minutes to talk about these kind of things. I think you guys were just flying under the radar, taking care of business. And I think by doing this, you guys are going to the top of the heap. That's what I meant by it. Not that it's this huge thing or it's just, but I think there are, I know based on the last 4 days or 5 days, the city council has become the topic in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Wow. So that's what I meant by that. Doesn't mean it's a negative thing, but I think it is.
We were famous a few years back, so every dog has his day.
No, I get that. I mean, I get that. But I just thought it was something that you guys. I mean, if I was on the city council, as an old military guy, we had a thing called, drawing fire on your position. And I understand sometimes there's tough decisions that need to be talked about, and you can't always avoid that.
Yeah.
I just thought this was one that could have been avoided a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
It's one of those deals. When do you bring? Is there a perfect time to
There's
ever bring
not.
it up?
No, there's not. There's never a good time.
I had that written down.
Everything's going good. So you ask if you ask during the COVID mask deal, that's not going to happen. That's not a good time.
There is no good time.
No.
Yeah,
we get that. No, we get that.
Yeah.
We get that.
And another thing that people need to realize, which I'm not making light of it. I take every financial decision we make
serious. Yep.
But when they're deciding this, they're not deciding, are we going to take more money away from the citizens? Are we going to add a tax on? We're not adding anything on to them personally. All we're asking is, can we reconfigure what we already have?
That's very fair.
So,
it's very fair.
And they still may say, oh, but no. I mean, if they do, they do. And I'm still going to do what I do. So,
100%. Yep.
But anyway.
No, we know that.
I have said what I think. But there's one other thing I haven't told you.
Okay. Are you going to give me food?
Am I going to give you food?
Well, you said there's one other thing. I mean, you said you'd cook for anybody.
Tell you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
and I don't know if this is even on Newsman's radar yet.
Uh-oh.
But it's in my email.
Uh-oh.
And it
Oh,
was,
water lines.
we got $1 million
I haven't read the
last
story.
week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You already did a story?
No, I have not done a story.
Oh,
I've read.
you've
I've
not?
gone through the email,
Yeah.
but I have not read. I
But
have not wrote a story
I
yet.
thought that was way
Big time.
cool.
Big time.
Oh, it's huge.
We got $1 million this last week to put the deal coming up division. Here's a $2 million.
Right. No, that's great.
And we got another $1 million last week. So
And this one's going to
That's
be spread
huge.
out a little bit more.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's certain sections that staff knows is bad and that kind of
Right.
that
That's
we're
great.
gonna do. So
That's fabulous.
and I didn't bring that up as a so give me the money type deal.
Sure.
I brought it up as
Good
hey,
news.
Here's some good news.
Yeah, it's good news.
involved
Yeah,
with this.
100%.
Absolutely. And,
100%. That's great news, Don. It's not good news.
Yeah,
That's
it
great
is.
news.
And
Yeah.
I love to be able to do those.
Absolutely.
things
Absolutely.
And get that kind of stuff done.
So is that a grant process? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
So somebody at the staff writes the grants,
Yeah.
right, and the staff, and then they submit it, and,
And-
we either get it or we don't.
You have to usually match that money, and you have
Right.
to decide where
Some
that
of
money
them
comes
are-
from.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Some of them are matched.
right.
But and that's another thing at the banquet the other night. If you heard Leroy, every one of our department heads have written and got a grant
Yeah, it's
for
huge.
something.
It's awesome.
And, you know, it kind of goes back to my saying that I have, so goes the department head, so goes the whole department.
Sure.
Well, this deal with every supervisor, or not supervisor, department head, having the ability to get a grant, that type of thing, that come from who? The old man at the head department,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
Leroy.
Yeah.
That's-
Well,
you
we're
gotta
going to
give
miss the
him
hell
the
out of
prop.
him.
Yeah.
We're going to miss the hell out of him.
We will.
There's no
And,
doubt.
You know, and not to make light of it, seems like the only thing that made the headlines was that the council decided to ask the boss for a raise, but the chief, fire or police chief, with the Iowa tribe, a $630-some thousand deal for the VOCA program, the Victims of Crime.
Yeah,
He said that was in the last meeting.
that's awesome.
That's a big deal.
That's a
And
huge
It's
deal.
on the line item to do. It just Phil makes me do all these podcasts now. So
Here I am scooping the news, man.
I get the same packet you do, and I have to read it for free.
Yeah, but
Come on, Don. That was funny.
you're reading it because you're nosy, though.
They send me the email.
or
I know.
or a concerned citizen. There's two ways to look at it.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm,
yeah.
you know,
Now, if I read it, I'm nosy.
yeah, I know.
Just get that out there.
But you know me. I like to throw rocks.
Oh yeah, we all do. You and I do. I shouldn't say we all
Yeah.
do, but you and I do. And sometimes I don't realize how heavy the rocks are I'm throwing.
That's me
You know,
too.
and I, you know,
But he makes his comment, and my point is, hey, hit me with it, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because I throw
yeah,
you know,
sure,
and-
sure.
them. But I'm kind of like you. Sometimes I throw
Yeah.
a bigger rock than the
Then I
person's
should.
able to
Then I
catch.
should. Yeah.
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 All right, we're gonna wrap this up. Don, appreciate you
Yeah,
reaching
thank
out,
you.
and it really answered some stuff out there. I'm
You
glad
bet.
it got out there, and
bet.
way more people
April
hear
4th.
more information they can get. Yeah,
April
the
4th.
vote is April 4th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But make sure you're registered to vote, and this will be for the folks inside the city limits. So if
Yeah.
you're not living in the city limits, you cannot do that. Also, there's going to be a day you're already going to get out and vote in Ward 1, as we have a couple candidates running for that. We'll have them on the podcast soon. I think we might have a forum later on. I think we got two good candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like
For
it.
Ward
Yeah.
1. Yeah.
I got to meet and I apologize. Help me with the young lady's name.
Kaylee.
Kaylee
Okay,
Mills.
I hadn't met her before, and I got to meet her at the chamber banquet the other night. Very sharp young lady, as is Adam.
Adam
very
Rock.
sharp, very sharp young man.
And
so.
you know, I'm not real deep with either one of
Right,
them, but
right.
from what I know of them, I don't think we'll get hurt. either.
Nope.
No, I think they'd both
Be
do
good.
a good job. I
Both
agree
will
with
work.
that.
Both will
Yeah.
work at it.
And that's the big thing.
Yep.
Yes.
It's going to work. So,
All right.
Don, thank you.
You
Thank you,
bet.
Don.
Appreciate it.
You
Phil,
bet.
Don, Chris, we appreciate you checking us out.
We're going out back. Finish this.
Finish that bottle.
So long, everybody.